But let's think about the three costs that are less obvious. And they're not all the costs, but let's talk about three that are less obvious and can be more damaging in the long run. So, number one, if the early part of dating is about information gathering, the cost number one is that your evaluation process shuts down. So, if you're trying to gather information, you're trying to fit it to your actual real life, right? Not your hopeful life, but your actual life with your actual needs, your today, present day values, your current non-negotiables, right? So the moment you overinvest, that process stops. You no longer ask whether something is right for you. You're adjusting to make it right. You're asking how to keep it. And these are completely different questions that produce completely different decisions. So this shows up in like red flags get reasonable explanations, right? Oh, they're just not texting me back about plans because they're really busy with work or they're really stressed with their mom or whatever, right? Moments of doubt get talked away. Instincts that say slow down get overridden by the part of you that's already decided that this is worth protecting. And let's remember how important it is to listen to your instincts. And if you override them, they get quieter, right? And they get weaker. You need to reinforce them so they keep talking to you. You also stop being a person evaluating a potential partner and you start being a person managing their anxiety about losing something that they never fully had, right? If you really, really had it, you wouldn't have to overinvest. It would just be there. Um, so cost number two is your nervous system starts running the show. So once you're emotionally overcommitted to an outcome, your nervous system, which is wired to protect investments, takes over. So every text gets analyzed, every silence becomes a question, every slightly ambiguous interaction gets filtered through the lens of what it means for the thing you already decided you want. So the anxiety you feel in that state is not a signal that something is wrong with the situation, but it's a signal that you've handed your nervous system something fragile to guard, and it's working really hard to do its job. The problem is that decisions you make from that state are almost never your clearest ones. So, that's the second big cost. Does that resonate with anybody? So let's talk about the third cost, all right? You start performing instead of connecting. So real connection requires showing up honestly, right? Authentically, including the parts of you that are uncertain, imperfect, still figuring things out, and being honest about it, right? So when you're over invested, you show up like managed and carefully curated in a way that's designed to keep the other person interested rather than actually getting to know you, you know? And that's not like building a connection, right? That's an audition. And it creates a dynamic where the other person is falling for a performance rather than a person, which means even if things go well, they're not going well for the real you. Overinvestment doesn't protect the connection, it replaces it with something that looks like connection but doesn't actually have a foundation.